Protests in Iran over the death of a 22-year-old woman arrested by the morality police are now stretching the globe.
Yeah, this is a big story. It's one that has not gotten a lot of attention locally, though. Cleo Green is here in studio to walk us through it this morning as we see a lot of North Texans getting involved, making sure their voices are heard. Cleo.
Yes, Mark Care, this morning the hashtag Mahsa Amini has been trending for weeks now. People in Dallas and across North Texas join people around the world for a day of global protests in support of the Iranian people. We created a very specific timeline that shows you what exactly led up to this moment. September 14th, 2022, Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Iranian woman, was arrested by the morality police because of improperly wearing a headscarf in violation of the country's laws. The police were accused of beating her and inflicting a fatal head injury. 2 days later, she died. September 17th, protests began hours after Amini's death, quickly spreading across Iran. September 18th, demonstrations spread. Hundreds gather around the University of Tehran, shouting women, life, freedom. September 19th, in response to protests, the Iranian government shuts down internet access and imposes nationwide restrictions to social media. September 22nd, protesters in Tehran and around the world support Iranian demonstrators and some women cutting off their hair. September 29th, Norway-based Iran Human Rights estimates at least 83 people, including children, are confirmed dead in the protests. The U.S. imposes sanctions on Iran oil exports. Sunday, October 2nd, Sharif University was surrounded by military forces. Young people were trapped and massacred, and professors arrested while trying to protect student demonstrators. Monday, October 3rd, breaking weeks of silence, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, responded publicly to the biggest protests in years, calling it rioting and accusing the U.S. and Israel of planning the protests. Tuesday, October 4th, President Joe Biden releases a statement on a violent crackdown in Iran, stating in part the United States stands with Iranian women and all the citizens of Iran who are inspiring the world with their bravery. Sunday, October 9th, Iran Human Rights puts the death toll so far at 185 people. Iran's Children's Rights Protection Society says at least 28 children have been killed in Iran protests. Monday, October 10th, oil workers in southern Iran strike, joining protesters as anti-regime demonstrations continue. This has been going on for 4 weeks now, and to the new oil strikes, that could cause some issues here at home as well. I'll break all of that down at about 6:30. For now, Karen, Mark, Sonia, I'll send it over to you.
Well, Sonia has been following this closely. You and I were talking about it last week. You've got family over there. And one thing we mentioned, and you can speculate on all the reasons why, but we hadn't heard a lot about it until really in the last couple of days.
Yeah, and it really was social media. And thank you guys for bringing attention to this. It really was social media and actresses and comedians and people in the Iranian American diaspora, as we say, to start raising and amplifying these voices so that we can bring attention to what is happening there. It doesn't come without risk, and so a lot of our families, a lot of our parents say, please don't talk about it, actually. But there are so many more who are fighting here in this country and around the world, and so I do think it's important that we do bring awareness. And there are geopolitical implications. I'll have more about that on our Facebook Live after the show.
Yeah, but you see a lot of these stories on social media, and sometimes you wonder, well, I'm not sure who to trust, but when you see more people talk about it, you realize this is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, no, there are a lot of Iranian Americans in news media, broadcast journalists from coast to coast and around the world. So there are major news outlets covering this now, thankfully.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. And that's on Facebook Live after the show? Okay.